The DTCC just dropped one of the biggest announcements in the history of modern finance. And if you're holding XRP, you need to understand exactly what it means. I'm talking about the single most important institution in the entire US stock market, the company that quietly settles trillions of dollars in trades every single day. And it is now just weeks away from moving real stocks and bonds onto a blockchain for the very first time. This is not a rumor. This is not hype. This is the financial system itself flipping onto a brand new foundation. And XRP sits closer to the center of this shift than most people realize. So today, I'm breaking down exactly what the DTCC just announced, why every major Wall Street bank is suddenly racing toward the same finish line, and the honest truth about where XRP actually fits in. Stay with me until the end, because there's one detail in this story that the hype channels are getting completely wrong, and you deserve the real picture. Let's start with the big picture, because it frames everything that follows. Right now, the largest banks on the planet are all placing the same bet, and the numbers attached to it are staggering. Standard Chartered just predicted that tokenization could push decentralized finance assets to $2.7 trillion by 2030. Stop and think about that for a second. $2.7 trillion. That single number is larger than the entire crypto market is worth today. And Citi went even further. Citi is forecasting a $5.5 trillion tokenization market by 2030, climbing all the way to $8.2 trillion in their bull case. Different banks, different numbers, but the message underneath all of them is identical. The smartest money in the world believes that real-world assets are about to move onto blockchains at a scale we have never seen before. And here's the key insight. Even if these predictions are wildly optimistic, even if you take the lowest number on the board, that low number is still bigger than all of crypto combined right now. That tells you everything about the direction this is heading. So before we go further, let me quickly explain what tokenization actually is, in plain English, because this is the engine behind the entire story. Tokenization simply means taking a real-world asset, like a stock, a bond, or a fund, and creating a digital version of it that lives on a blockchain. That digital token represents true ownership of the real thing. The original asset gets locked, so it can't be duplicated. A smart contract defines how the token behaves, and from that moment on, the token can be moved, traded, or used as collateral around the clock. No waiting for markets to open, no slow settlement, no middlemen taking days to confirm. That's the promise. Faster, more transparent, and more accessible ownership. And the reason this matters so much is simple. The people building it are no longer crypto startups. It's the establishment itself. Which brings us to the announcement everyone is talking about. The DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, just confirmed it is approaching a live demonstration of tokenization using real assets held inside its own depository. Let me put the DTCC's importance into perspective, because most people have no idea how big this institution is. The DTCC sits at the absolute center of the US financial system. Nearly every stock and bond trade in America passes through it. And in a recent study, the DTCC tested whether a blockchain could handle more than 100 million trades per day, which is roughly the real volume of the entire US equity market. The result? It can. That's why this matters. For the first time ever, blockchain infrastructure is about to be battle-tested against the actual daily volume of Wall Street. The limited launch is expected as early as July, with the system targeted to go fully operational later in the year. This is the no-turning-back moment. Once the DTCC proves this works at full scale, every other major player in finance follows, because they simply cannot afford to be left behind. Now here's where XRP enters the story. And I want to walk through this carefully, because this is exactly where most channels start exaggerating, and I'm not going to do that to you. Ripple's connections to this tokenization wave are real, and they are deep. Ripple Prime, which was formerly known as Hidden Road, has direct ties to the DTCC ecosystem, and Brad Garlinghouse has talked about a large portion of the roughly $3 trillion flowing through that business moving toward Ripple's infrastructure. On top of that, Securitize, another firm tied into the DTCC's tokenization push, is already integrating with the XRP ledger to bring new assets and utility on-chain. Add to that Ripple's custody agreement with BNY, and the long list of major settling banks that already touch Ripple's solutions, names like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, Deutsche Bank, and Wells Fargo, and you start to see the web of connections forming around Ripple, right at the heart of traditional finance. And this isn't just about connections on paper. Earlier this year, Ripple laid out its institutional DeFi roadmap built directly on the XRP ledger, with XRP at the core. We're talking about real tools that already exist or are rolling out right now. On-chain foreign exchange, tokenized asset support, automated escrow, batch transactions that let institutions move funds at massive scale, and built-in credentials for compliance. These are exactly the enterprise-grade features that banks demand before they'll ever move serious money on-chain. The XRP ledger was not designed to be a meme. It was engineered to be financial infrastructure, and that is precisely why it keeps showing up in these institutional conversations. But here is the honest part, the detail the hype channels are skipping. Right now, the DTCC has only listed 3 eligible networks for this tokenization service: its own app chain, Canton, and Stellar. The XRP ledger is not on that public list yet. Could it be added later? Absolutely. The door is wide open. The SEC's no action letter doesn't lock anyone out, and Ripple's connections give XRP a genuinely strong position to be included. But there is a difference between being well-positioned and being confirmed. And if this channel is called verified, then I owe you that distinction. XRP's opportunity here is real, but it is an opportunity, not a done deal. And honestly, that is a far more powerful place to be than the fantasy version, because it means there is still a major catalyst sitting on the table that the market hasn't fully priced in. So let's zoom back out. What's actually happening here is bigger than any single coin. The entire foundation of global finance is shifting onto blockchain rails. The biggest banks are forecasting trillions in tokenized value. The DTCC is weeks away from proving it works at full scale, and Ripple has spent years quietly wiring itself into the exact institutions driving this change. For XRP holders, the thesis is straightforward. The infrastructure XRP was built for, fast settlement, deep liquidity, and on-chain finance, is precisely what this new world demands. The question is no longer whether tokenization happens, it's how big a role XRP plays in it. And that story is still being written in real time. Here's what I'd watch from here. Keep your eyes on that DTCC eligible networks list, because the day the XRP ledger appears on it, the entire conversation changes. Watch for more Ripple and Securitize integrations, and watch the July launch closely, because that is the moment speculation turns into proof. And before I wrap up, the important reminder: this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing here is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Crypto is volatile and risky, and you should always do your own research before making any decision. My job is simply to give you the real picture, the confirmed facts, and the honest unknowns, so you can think clearly for yourself. So that's the breakdown. The financial system is going on-chain, the DTCC is leading the charge, and XRP is positioned closer to the center than almost anyone expected. The only question left is how the next few months play out. If this gave you the clear, honest version you were looking for, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And drop a comment and tell me, do you think the XRP ledger makes the DTCC's list before the end of the year? I read every single one. Take care, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.